Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, let's watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. As I always say, don't use YouTube as a replacement for therapy. If you need a therapist, get one. You really deserve it. Let's watch.
Why would you ask me to come to Tunisia and marry you if you did not want to get married? I do not understand. You lie.
No lie.
Yes, you lie. You're not.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a lie that she's experiencing right now, or at least a lie by omission or something. I think she was under the impression, or at least he might have even said it directly, that they were getting married. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's true. So, yeah, she has every reason to say that you lied. Now, he could say, I wasn't lying, I've changed my mind. I'm starting to freak out. He could certainly say that. He could say, well, I was mostly sure I wanted to get married, but after, you know, it just started to hit me and all this stuff, there's some concerns. Could we just give it a little bit more time? Let's see how they talk about it.
I do not have a long time to be here. I need to know if you want to marry me while we're here or not. I want to be with you, but if you do not want to marry me, I will go home. No marriage, no more relationship.
Okay, so she's saying no marriage, no relationship, which I don't know what I think about that. On one level, it seems like, why do you need to get married so quickly? I mean, it's such a premise on this show. It's like everyone thinks they have 4 months to live, and it's like, we got to get married right away. So maybe there's some reason for her on that front. I mean, obviously the pragmatic reasons are it's really hard to see each other, at least for long periods of time, if you're not married, because of visas and all that kind of stuff. So, and it's expensive. So absolutely. But this is why you don't marry people in Tunisia when you're an American. Or you don't date people who live so far away, particularly during a pandemic. So, you know, I get the inconvenience, but it puts a lot of pressure. And okay, so she's drawing the line in the sand. So I think she's being truthful about that, but I think it's also her pattern to try to control through threats like this. We've seen it with other couples as well. You know, Ed would do this kind of thing with Rose, where it's just like, look, if you don't do this, then I'm not going to marry you. And then bye-bye visa, bye-bye America. Hey, I'm going to hold this carrot out in front of you, which is, you know, obviously pretty gross. I don't know if that's what's happening for her. I think she legit wants to get married like fast, and so I don't think she's lying about that, but I don't know. So how do I, as a civilian, how do I feel about it? I would say that, is this relationship really worth it? Do they know each other that well? Can they communicate that well? If they did get married, there would be massive hardships for either one of them, because they'd be separated from their family and their country and their culture and their language and their religion. So is it worth it to take this leap of faith, or to ruin his life or force him or something? You know, it's just like, as a civilian, I just say to Memphis, just go home. And you know, there's plenty of fish in the sea in the United States, and it would be so much easier, because you'd have the luxury of actually dating and seeing over time. I'm sure a lot of people would be more than happy to date her and want to marry her eventually. And for him, the same, that he could find people in his country anyway. But, you know, people fall in love, so let's see what he says.
I know. أنا خايف عليك.
I am afraid of you.
What?
So I'm not sure what he's saying. I think he's saying, well, I wonder what he's saying here, because she's been pressuring, right? She would say, sign the prenup or else I'm not going to marry you. So I think he's afraid of that. Maybe that's some kind of fear that would be, I think, rational to some extent. Is he afraid of her anger? Because she hasn't been that angry, really. Really hardly in terms of aggressiveness. We haven't seen that, but let's see what happens.
Why?
Because you X before 1, X to X.
Oh, how many?
Oh, I see. Right. So he's afraid that she's going to marry him and then divorce him later on. So he's afraid of that. And yeah, makes sense. It could be very disruptive to his life. Also in his family, divorce has a history of trauma with his mom. So, okay. I mean, if that's the only reason why he doesn't want to get married right away, then, you know, I think they could sue that. I don't think she has any intention on divorcing him. I mean, who knows what will happen, but if that's it, then I think they can work with that.
I only have one divorce. One.
أيوة. الشيء المهم بالنسبة لي أنا خائف لا أكون مثل صديقك السابق وتتركني.
You cannot be afraid of the past. You have to look forward to the future.
Okay, I don't know if that's going to soothe him. I was hoping she would say something like, honey, I will never leave you. I love you. I want to be with you. I've never been so sure in my life. I will never leave you. So don't look in the past, look in the future. Well, it's rational to look into the past. It's not unwise to say, well, you know, you kind of have a track record. Now, for the average American, her track record is really quite normal. It's quite average. For him, though, it's not. In their culture, from what I understand, it's you know, divergent from the common path that people have. So, okay.
So you have to trust me.
You don't trust me.
The prenup?
أنا ليس خائف من توقيع الورقة.
I'm not afraid to sign the paper. I just want you to trust me.
I do. I trust you, but I want you to sign paper, okay?
So it just shows and highlights their communication problem, because there's so many other ways to be talking about this. And I guess it's really just common to maybe every couple along these lines, but there's the added wrinkle of the translator. But I will say that the translator is very good. So it's pretty quick, and they're understanding each other seemingly pretty well. So, and sometimes when you have translators, and because I've worked with human translators in session, that it can actually help in some. There's pros and cons. There's a lot of cons because it throws a wrench in ongoing conversations where you can just bounce off each other. But a pro is that it causes everyone to be very deliberate with what they're going to say. They have to pause and think, because they're downloading a couple sentences into a human being, and then that human being has to repeat it. And so you talk more. It encourages differentiation. It encourages people to slow down and just be like, okay, wait. Because when you're just talking off the cuff, you'll be like, screw you, and you're probably not going to want to say that through a translator. At the very least, you're embarrassed because the translator is sitting there, So anyway, they're talking about that and the prenup. So let's see how they talk about it here. But I think there's so many other things that could be said here. She could say, look, I love you. I want to be with you. I do trust you, but I just don't really know what the future holds. And I'd like for you to sign the prenup because I just don't know what the future will hold. And I'm pretty sure we're going to stay together, but you just never know. And I just want you to sign this thing. But make no mistake about it, I do not think we're going to get divorced. But you just never know. Something along those lines. The other thing I'll say is a lawyer actually commented below, and I commented about that comment on my comment video. The lawyer was saying, I'll spare you the details, but essentially like signing a prenup in another country and getting married in that country, and people speaking different languages, in all likelihood makes the agreement not very upholdable in future. So it might be kind of a moot point anyway, and I don't know if Memphis understands that.
So, do you want to marry me? I was shocked when Hamza said that he wanted to push back the wedding. So now I'm even more scared to tell Hamza about me and my ex-husband. But it is really important for us to lay everything on the line.
So, not very enthusiastic. I mean, maybe there's a lot of love between the two of them, and they feel it and understand it and express it. In that moment, there didn't seem to be a lot of that. It seems to be very much of her pressuring him and him saying, okay, I guess so, instead of two people saying, yes, let's get married.
I stayed at my ex-husband's house.
What? Why sleep house X?
I was feeling kind of down, and he said that I could stay at his house, so I spent 4 nights at his house, but nothing happened sexually.
Okay, so in my neck of the woods, that'd be totally fine. It would be hurtful that you didn't say anything, but, or at least for me, if I was with someone and they did that in the beginning of dating, I would be like, well, that's fine, I trust you, you know. But why didn't you tell me? You could have just told me. Now, I don't know how Hamza's going to take it, though. She's saying that while they were dating, but before they met each other in person, right? I keep forgetting. Have none of the couples seen each other in person before this season? Or at the very least, it's very limited. But anyway, while they were separated, perhaps having never met each other in person, she was down, she said, and stayed with her former partner as just to get some support or something, which, you know, I understand that. It makes sense. A former partner can be a companion and a friend. And she's saying nothing happened. Okay, so let's see what Hamza says.
What? You crazy?
Right. So not only in his neck of the woods, but also in the United States, for some people, this is a massive violation. It's very, even if you didn't have sex with or didn't get together with him, it can be extremely disgraceful. At the very least, it's a lie because you omitted it. You didn't tell him. So, yeah, that's too bad. Maybe they'll recover. Let's see.
أنت لم تحترمني.
You did not respect me.
Yes, I did. I did respect you. I did not sleep in the bed with him, and I did not have sex with him. I want you to be able to trust me. That is why I'm telling you now.
So she could have a totally different attitude about this. Instead of saying, you have to trust me, it's like he's hurt. He's, he's in pain. You lied to him at the very least, and that should be addressed. So you could have a different tone, or just like, yeah, I'm really sorry. I didn't do anything with him, but I understand that you would feel this way. It's a consistent attitude that she has, one of, I don't know how to say it. What word do I put to it? Just a coldness, I suppose, or I think she's warm with him at times, but when there's tension, she doesn't escalate. She doesn't get aggressive the way some people do on the show. But, well, what I'll say is that most people in this situation, in her shoes, would probably be worse than this. We've seen a lot of people on the show like, what are you doing? Like, like, how dare you accuse me? I was just, like, think about how Mike, I can't remember exactly how Mike reacted to Natalie when he was caught sleeping at someone else's house. Well, I guess it was kind of similar to this, where it's just like, I don't know what the big deal is. Instead of just saying, hey, I mean, Memphis understands why he's hurt, because she didn't tell him for fear that he would be hurt and leave her. So she knows that by doing this, it was going to hurt him, or it was likely going to hurt him. So she gets it. But then when she discloses it, she's just like, I don't understand. You have to trust me. It's like, now, when we get insecure, we resort to that. We're just like, hey, stop it. And if it's one thing that you learn from this channel, it's that when you hurt your partner and they have a reaction, just take a beat and just say like, hey, I get it. I hurt you and I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, but I get it. That, just because if you don't establish that with your person, then it's going to be really hard to move forward. You're going to continue to hurt your partner because not only did you hurt them, but then you're just acting like they're in the wrong for having a normal reaction.
Okay?
No, okay.
Okay.
No.
Mom.
It's unfortunate. I mean, I think he was willing to work with her, but she's just like, okay, peace. Now, she has, I think, a lot of relational trauma. She's talked at least about her childhood being rough, and so this might be being triggering for her in a certain way. I mean, the way that people treated her, sometimes we treat others in a similar way because certain behaviors get normalized to us. Like, okay, fine, you know, if you're gonna be upset about this, then I'm out, instead of being there for him. And it's possible that for her, no one was there for her when she was upset, or at least very rarely. So, yeah, it's too bad.
ممس انت قبل نورمال مود تحكي لحمزة انت قبل راجلك
Yeah, ex-husband.
شبيك منقوش لحمزة.
I mean, I commend the mom's effort to try to help, but Memphis doesn't understand their language, so okay, pull out the phone.
ما هو السبب ذهابك إلى منزل زوجك؟
What is the reason for going to your ex-husband's house?
It is really personal why I went to his house, but I needed some moral support.
Okay, so she could give more detail, right? Look, a fiance of mine, it was really personal, so, you know, butt out. But just know that I needed some moral support. Now, I'm guessing maybe she's like, I don't want to talk about it in front of the cameras. So she could have said something like that. Or she could have said, look, it was a big deal. Maybe one day I'll tell you the details, but it wasn't bad. I'm just kind of ashamed about the whole thing, or whatever. But I don't know. That would raise more questions for Hamza. I was just like, wait, so what was it? Why did you need support? You were dating me. You didn't even tell me about it. Like, that would raise more questions. But, you know, I get that she wants to keep her privacy from the cameras. I'm guessing that's what it is.
معني
No,
دعم
personal.
المعنوي معناها هي في مشكلة وتحب هو يطلع لها المورال نتاعها. مقيته كانوا مقات كانوا
لماذا لا تذهب إلى مكان آخر مثل منزل أختك أو شيء آخر؟
Yeah, totally great question. Why did you go to him? Why didn't you go to someone else? Is there no one else that you could have gone to for moral support? Let's see what she says. And, you know, maybe there's a legit answer.
صديقتها.
Why don't you go to another place like your girlfriend's or your sister's house?
I don't have a lot of friends in Muskegon, but I needed someone to be there for me.
So she needs to give more detail because it would help, I think, if she gave more detail and talked about how she's sorry. Just like the way she comes across to him is just like, look, prenup or else, we're done. And how come you don't want to get married? Okay, we're done. Okay, by the way, I, you know, did this thing, and why are you upset? We're done. Like, it's just like, I don't think she wants to be done. I think she wants to. I'm not mocking her, by the way. Well, maybe I am. I shouldn't be knocking her because that's mean and it's terrible, and I'm not going to do that. So I apologize. I wish that for her sake that she could take a beat and you know, say more. I think she could just give more detail. She doesn't have to give specifics. She'd be like, look, it was something really hard for me, and I don't have any friends, and I went to him. I understand how that would bother you, but I don't know. I didn't have anyone to be with, to just sort of, I don't know, I didn't want to be alone in my apartment, and I wanted to be with someone that I felt safe with, and I feel safe with him. We didn't get together. It's just like he's a brother of mine or something at this point. You know, just some more detail. Let's see what she says.
Can we talk about it? Can you come with me and we talk? I tell you.
Okay.
No, I don't want no one to know.
Right. She doesn't want people to know the world. It's something personal to her. Who knows what it could have been, but that makes sense. And I wish, more people on the show did this all the time. I mean, if they're legitimately trying to build a life together, there would be a lot of things that you'd want to keep quiet and be private about, for sure. So, yeah, we don't know what it was. It was a big deal to her, and I think this will help. If she's like, look, I'll just tell you what, off microphone, I'm going to tell you what it was, and hopefully that will help you to understand where I was coming from.
Talking about hard times that I don't like to talk about.
In a way that you're comfortable saying what basically caused that dark time.
So who knows? But it could have been something rough for her. Who knows? But I suspect that it was, or at least massively triggering for her. And maybe that's why she was real rigid and not warm with him, because she knows that she has to shut down all of her emotions just to kind of get through everything. So maybe that's why that was happening.
Basically, what caused that dark time was that I didn't pass my state boards for the first time, and I had lost it.
Yeah, that's rough. That is rough. I mean, I can relate from my field that there's, certain gateways that you have to go through to become a therapist, and you work real hard. You spend a lot of money, blood, sweat, and tears to get to that point. And you take the test. You're super nervous. Maybe there's even an oral exam in front of judges or something, and you don't pass. And you just feel like, even though you might have mentors and other people around you saying like, oh no, it's fine, just take it again, you'll be okay. It's not great, but you'll get there. You just feel like a complete loser, just a humiliated loser that, you're not good enough, because you already don't feel good enough anyway. And I'm guessing in her field it's similar, because it's so complicated, and there's so much to learn, and you just feel so lost when you're starting your career. And so, yeah, okay, so she really had a rough time. I'm glad it wasn't something more traumatic, like being assaulted or something, but she, it was hard, so she went to his house, and, it makes sense. Maybe for Hamza, hearing her story and also seeing her emotions about it, maybe that helped him to understand the severity of it. And I hope that she also was like, look, I get that you're hurt. It makes sense. I would be upset too. I was just desperate. I didn't know what else to do. And if you were in town, I would have gone to you, but you weren't. And there really isn't anyone else I feel close to and safe with. There's no threat there. We're never going to get together. Just something along those lines. Hopefully she said something like that.
I was very depressed. I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to do anything. I couldn't really take care of my children. So my ex-husband stepped up, and he really fed me and made sure everything was taken care of.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that makes even more sense, that she went into a deep depression, which I'm guessing was some kind of triggered issue from her childhood. And it sounds like it was pretty dark, not being able to feed your kids, not being able to get out of bed. That's probably even suicidal. So she is in a bad way. She needs someone there to feed the kids, one, and help feed her, do all those kinds of things. And so, yeah, that makes total sense. And again, hopefully she communicated to Hamza that there really wasn't anyone else around in town that would have been able to do. It wasn't like I just went to his house because I was having a bad day. Like my entire life was falling apart. I wasn't able to even take care of my kids. I needed someone there that I could trust, and I know I can trust him to actually, yeah, makes sense.
Kids were clothed, and I laid in bed for approximately 4 days.
And it breaks my heart that she feels, I think, so ashamed that she couldn't reveal that on camera, that she was avoiding that. And I hope that having revealed it to the camera now, she can feel a little better and get some support, because there's nothing to be ashamed of. People fail those things all the time. And the thing that I tell my students, my trainees, is the test has nothing to do with your ability as a therapist, because when you're a therapist, there's not a lot of indications of you being a good therapist. It's hard to know, particularly in the beginning, particularly when you're working with really rough clients, tough clients in the beginning. You could potentially go your first year as a therapist and not really see any success at all. And so you're told that it's like, well, give it time. These are rough clients, planting seeds. You know, it takes time to actually improve things. Sometimes just keeping people at the same level is a success, because without you, they would be going further down the road of destruction. So, but it's such an amorphous thing. You know, when you're a plumber, you show up to a house, there's a leak, you fix the leak, you walk away, there's no leak. It's like success. I did a thing. But therapy is so amorphous. And in the beginning, you don't even know what you're looking for in terms of, and you have such imposter syndrome to begin with. So what I tell people, if as they're heading into the test, to kind of relieve their anxiety, and also if they do happen to fail the test, is to tell them that this test has nothing to do with your ability as a therapist. Research even shows that. It's just a test. It's just a memorization task. And you know, maybe it tests and encourage you to learn certain ideas and certain things about our profession, certain principles, if you will, and ethical principles. And that part of the test actually probably is helpful. But some of the questions I've looked at the questions, at least in my field, some of the questions are just patently wrong. I'm looking at the answer and I'm like, that's the wrong answer. They're saying that answer is right. That's the wrong answer. I know. But, you know, human beings design these tests, and sometimes human beings make mistakes. Sometimes human beings don't know what the F they're doing. So anyway, I tell people that. It's just like, look, just take the test, get through it, do your best, study. But if you fail, don't worry about it. It has nothing to do with your ability as a therapist. And I'm guessing that for her, when she didn't pass it, it felt like she was a complete fraud and she's stupid, and all those messages maybe that she was getting when she was young, that she's not good enough, you know, it all just comes crashing down for her, and then you feel massive depression.
Yeah. That was hard. If I didn't go to my ex-husband for support, my decisions at that point in time would have been really detrimental to my life.
Right. So that's what I was suspecting. And she made a very smart choice. Now, she could have told Hamza, right? She could have texted him or called him or something, said, look, I'm going through a really rough time. I'm thinking about hurting myself. I can't get out of bed. I'm sorry. I have to go to my ex-husband's house. Nothing's going to happen, but, you know, and the tears and the crying. Maybe their relationship wasn't strong enough yet at that point. I don't know.
So you understand now?
Yes.
You still love me?
Yes, baby.
So that's good. So vulnerability is the key to helping a relationship go well. Instead of just saying, what's wrong with you? How come you're upset? It's like, be vulnerable. You have to trust. And I think she can trust him. Absolutely. He has shown that, especially in this moment, because he has every reason to be upset, and you lied to me, and this doesn't change. You're just trying to gaslight me. You know, you're a cheating woman. He's not doing any of that kind of stuff. He sees through all that stuff, and it's like, oh, I get it. You know, I see the vulnerability, and I'm not super happy that she went to her ex-husband's, but clearly she wasn't going over there to have an affair. I mean, you know, that wasn't on the table.
You want to marry me?
Yes.
Okay.
وقت قالت لي منفس على الموضوع وعذرته معناها هنا وحزنت برشا معناها فهمت كيفاش.
Good guy. 2 thumbs up. Passes the test. That's great. It's good.
جاتني وقالت لي عساجم تقف معايا حاجة مهمة ليا أنا الراجل الوحيد في حياتها هذا مهم جدا لي أنا.
صحيح صالحنا هاو
يما فما حكاية صارت لها هي معناها.
So it's good. Yeah, great. And he's like, but I kind of wish she would have told me. And yeah, maybe this is a learning moment for the two of them. And yeah, They have a lot of strengths. They have some, I think rather minor issues actually to work on relative to other couples on the show. So I think this moment really shows what they're capable of as a couple. So she showed differentiation. She admitted what happened. She took responsibility. I think she could have apologized more. Maybe she did behind closed doors, because I think he just deserves that. But I think he understands and maybe doesn't need more apology. All right, well, if you haven't become a patron of the podcast yet, you can do so now by clicking the link below or going to patreon.com. If you like what we're doing here, that is the one thing you can do to put the wind in our sails. If it weren't for the patrons, I would not be able to do this. And there's always a turnover every month. People, cancel their subscription on Patreon, which is fine. But it means we need a continual new batch of people every month signing up to keep this, this channel chugging down the road, if you will. Is that an appropriate metaphor? Anyway, it's up to you. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.